Hello, welcome to our first lesson in drawing a monkey's tail. Today we're going to be looking at the basic geometry on how to draw one. This is one form of geometry that I particularly like for drawing the tail. Fairly straightforward, and I'll run through the stages on how to do it. As you can see here, by changing between 8, 10 and 12 divisions, we can get a different size to the cap part of the monkey tail. We today will be looking at dividing the width by 8. The process is the same for all the different sizes, so we'll start running through with dividing this by 8. The question is, without the pre-drawn handrail, how do I get dimension E? I find a good starting point is about 5 times the overall handrail width, or about 1 1/3 times the goings. And this will give you a good starting point for a traditional style of handrail. For the purposes of this demonstration, I've drawn ourselves a little staircase out here. We have riser 1 running through the bottom, riser 2, we have the handrail profile set over top of the spindle, which gives us our centre line. We also have the spindle set as it would be if it's a straight flight, with the centre line coming back through here, which we'll need later on. The dimensions I've used all work out really nicely. I've used 270 millimeters, or 10 5/8 of an inch, and this gives us, if we multiply our 270 mil up by 1 1/3, we end up with 360 millimeters, or we end up with 1 foot 2 1/8 of an inch. The handrail also works out. We are using a 72 millimeter handrail, which multiplied by 5 gives us our 360 millimeters. So now with our dimension, which will be dimension E, we can start drawing the geometry for the monkey tail. So now we've determined the overall width to which we are going to work, we can draw the line to represent the overall width from outside of handrail to outside of a handrail. We're going to do this at our 360 millimeters to represent what we've just drawn out, and then in this instance we are going to work on a division of 8, so we can divide that 8 line into 8 equal parts. We will call this line FG. So next what we're going to do is we're going to draw a line or an arc from point F to the first section, and we are going to swing that down there. We're going to call that point H, and then we're going to draw a line from F through to H. The next stage is we draw a line from H back down to G. Then the next stage is we pick the centre line of our main FG line, and we draw a line from its centre perpendicular to H and G at 90 degrees. There we go. And then we spring a line from the centre point through the perpendicular back round onto the line FG, and we'll call that point J. Using point J as our centre and G as our radius, we can now swing an arc down the bottom. We can then draw a line from J to the end of our new arc, and we will call that point K. Our next line is drawn from point H parallel to FG and terminating at JK, and we can call this one point L. The next line is drawn from point K through line HG, or perpendicular to it, straight through there until it intersects with line FG. So we draw that line down there, and we just make certain that is at 90 degrees there to keep that all looking correct. And we're going to call that one point M. For the next stage, we're going to draw a line from point L through the intersection point of H, G and M, K, and we're going to run this down until it intersects with lines F, G. Then we're going to draw one back from point J through the same intersection until it meets line H, L, and we'll call the other end of this line point N. So now we have these points, we can draw a line perpendicular to HL from point N until it hits the diagonal. From there we can go through 90 degrees until it hits the next diagonal, and again back down through 90 degrees to hit the next diagonal. We will call these points P, Q and R, and these now give us all the centres that we need for stringing our lines. If you're drawing this on a CAD system, well worth saving it at this point, as this geometry is scalable before we draw the monkey tail. Once you've drawn the monkey tail, it's not scalable anymore. So you can see here, we can get hold of this, the same geometry will work. We can scale this up here so that we can take it from that point there through to that point there, and we can just adjust that. If we had a 500mm, 600mm, whichever size, 10 inch, 20 inch, 15 inch, whatever size you wanted to go for, it's scalable. Once we've started building a handrail around it and put our centre lines in, we can't scale this anymore, it has to be for that size. So go ahead, save it now, and in the next lesson we will show you how to draw the actual monkey tail.